And Anthony Salvanto is here with us now to dig deeper into this new CBS polling. Anthony, good to see you. So the polling shows that, as we've been reporting, a majority of Americans want Roe v. Wade left in place as it exists today. And you've also asked about federal laws to legalize and ban abortion. What have you learned?
Hey, good morning, Vlad. Yeah, when you look at the support or opposition to federal laws, you start with this. There is majority support for a federal law that would protect abortion rights. And this 58% actually goes much, much higher, Vlad. Actually goes to over 8 in 10 among people, the ones you mentioned, who want to see Roe kept in place. Now, on the other side of that, you started talking about what would be a prospective federal ban or something that would make abortion illegal. And there you do find a similar number among those, but this is the key point, among those who want Roe overturned. So it's among that third who want it overturned. A majority of them would go so far as to put in place a federal ban. But the important thing is you compare that to the larger number of people who want it kept that want federal protection. So it's not quite as strong. And I would add this, Vlad. You know, we're going to hear a lot about partisanship, as you just did in that piece. But this is something, this federal law, that really divides Republicans. And when you see this 48-52 split, it's not a majority of Republicans that would favor a federal ban. And that, I think, speaks to a larger point here that you're seeing in terms of policy outputs here, the fact that banning abortion or making it illegal in all circumstances is something held by a smaller amount of Americans, but ones who vote often in Republican primaries and prioritize the issue. Vlad?
So advocates of abortion rights have sort of warned that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it could have wider implications because sort of the underpinnings has to do with the right to privacy. So what other parts of their lives were people concerned about if this opinion, concerned about in terms of this opinion affecting that beyond abortion?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, it's really important. As we started to talk about what's next in people's minds, what they want and what they anticipate. One of the things that stood out is you look at women under age 50, and 2/3 felt like this would lead to restrictions on things like birth control and other family planning choices. So that's one of the implications to them that really stood out. And something else that I'll show you, too, is talking about access. What might happen in terms of access to abortion? And the public told us that they felt that people of lower income women, women of color, much more likely to have it be harder to get access to abortion and family planning than, for example, for wealthy women. So that disparate impact in the public mind, anyway, they see that as another implication coming out of this. And one of the things that sort of all adds up to, Anne-Marie, is that for those who wanted Roe kept in place, a lot of them said moving the country in the wrong direction and that it would overall be a danger to women in their minds. A big 82% of them, that's one of their first initial responses, Anne-Marie.
So what do people want to happen in their particular states if Roe is overturned? I know we're talking, these numbers, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, are nationally. But I wonder what the numbers would look like, for example, in the state of Mississippi or in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and studies show that does vary, Vlad. But one thing that cuts across a lot of nationally and also a lot of states is that there are still relatively few Americans who would say abortion ought to be legal in all cases. What you see when you actually parse this is that you get these splits. There's a third who would want it to be legal in all cases. But the middle here, legal in most cases, even some who say illegal in most cases, this is where you get into restrictions and what the restrictions ought to be, those particulars of policy. And here, even in the polling, it gets very mixed. But you do, if you want to sort of reduce it to legal, illegal, you do get a majority saying legal in at least most cases. And I think one of the debates you'll watch going forward is in states that try to restrict this, as you're already seeing, at what point do they try to restrict it, as opposed to an outright ban, which that, in fact, is not supported by a majority. And that's something that I think you want to watch. And then you want to talk about what the criminal penalties ought to be, in fact, if it does become illegal. And here, for those saying that it should be illegal, we did see among them, among that smaller group, we did see numbers who would see punishments for the doctor and the medical staff, people helping pay, even some supporting the woman in the case of having something that would be having an abortion if it were made illegal in their states. So that's one of the implications going forward.
Wow, that's interesting stuff, Anthony. Thank you so much for that snapshot.